Welcome to WP Coffee Talk. Thank you to our sponsor, Helix Managed WordPress Hosting, for both their sponsorship and hosting our site, WPCoffeeTalk.com. Now on to our episode. Welcome back to WP Coffee Talk, where I get to talk to all the really cool people in WordPress. I like to think that they're really cool people. They're really cool people to me anyway. And one of the really coolest is Alison Knott. Alison, it's so good to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Oh, 12-year-old me is so happy to hear that. So happy.
Well,
thank you.
The first time I ever met you, you were in leggings with some really wild stuff on them.
Oh, yeah. There was like a unicorn fighting a dinosaur, and the dinosaur had laser beams coming out of it. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, come on. How is that not cool? Right?
I mean, space is so far away. If I could stretch it around my legs and just encapsulate it a little bit, then I'll go for it. So happy tights, happy life.
There you go. I like it. And that was back in my very first WordCamp Ottawa. And so
that was also my first WordCamp. Oh, it's my second WordCamp.
So that was about 4 years ago, I think. Yeah, 4 years ago.
Probably 400 million years, it seems like. No, it's got to be, yes. Actually, now that I think about it, yes. You are correct.
And I was like, oh, she's the cool one to talk to. And you gave me a sticker that you had drawn of a cat.
Yes, the blue smudge. Yes.
And it is on, it's not on the laptop I'm recording from today, but it is on my other MacBook.
Oh.
And it's there with a place of pride. So I just want you to know, not only did I keep it, I actually put it on my laptop. So there you go.
Oh, that's fantastic. Sticker culture is huge. It often goes on sketchbooks, which is great, but sketchbooks don't last as long as laptops. So the designer in me is like, yay. And the artist in me is like, that's like a billion years to be on anything. Because usually you fill a sketchbook and, put it away and get the next one and fill it all up with stickers. Whereas laptops, 4 years, 5 years, you're trying to get out of a laptop?
Forever on my laptop, because this is what I'm going to do. Somebody asked me this weekend. I was at WordCamp Montreal this weekend. We're going to get to our questions in a minute, but this is fun. So I was at WordCamp Montreal this weekend, and somebody said, look at all the stickers. Well, what are you going to do when your laptop dies? I said, well, have you ever heard of creating art from taking apart your computer? They said, what do you mean? Ooh. I said, I'm going to take, when it's gone, right? I'm not going to put it in a landfill. I'm going to take the little tiny screwdriver, open it all up, and I'm going to get a giant, like just big, like, what do you call it? The box that you put, the shadow box.
Yes, yeah.
The cover, the two covers, the front cover, the back cover, and all the components laid out really neatly inside the shadow box. And I'm going to create art out of my laptops.
That's beautiful. It's sort of like tech taxidermy. I like it.
I like that word too. And it's like my laptop created art for so long, it deserves better than a laptop.
Nothing more beautiful than just having your guts laid out for everyone to see, right? Forever immortalized, just
I'm going to eviscerate this thing like William Wallace at the end of Braveheart.
Like that really famous artist that like takes the sharks and divides up with them formaldehyde, but it's just like your laptop all put across there. Exactly. $1 billion, you'll be canonized in the art world.
That's right, exactly. And it'll be like, that was her only piece ever. And it's not worth anything until she dies. But anyway.
Yeah.
I digress. So tell us about yourself and what you do. Oh, and tell us where you live, because I think of you as being in a very remote area, because if I were to try to drive to you, I was like, I'm going to come to the first WordCamp Halifax. So I just told him where we live. And I was like, how long will it take me to drive there? Oh, 19 hours. I guess I'm not going this year.
And I consider like New York to be close as far as cities of the States. So yes, hi, I'm Alison, also known as Eraserheader Design, and I live in beautiful Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And we may be well known by American watchers and listeners today by our Boston connection. About 100 years ago, we had a massive explosion in my city and it leveled it. I'm actually about 5 blocks away from ground zero of that explosion. And Boston was the first to come to our city's aid. And so every year since, we have been donating our largest Christmas tree to Boston. So we shipped down our Nova Scotian largest Christmas tree as a thanks from Halifax all the way down to Boston. And they get to put up our biggest evergreen tree that we have. So that's a little bit of, and also I'm from where the area where Trailer Park Boys is filmed. So that's also another one of there. So that's recorded in Dartmouth, which is our sister city across a bridge.
You are just a plethora of information.
Nerds, right? Like it just kind of oozes out of our pores, basically.
Can you imagine if we could team up on Jeopardy? We would like kill. Like
maybe just no math, no sports, and no geography, because that's about it. Like I don't know all of my states, and I know most of my own provinces. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. Okay, so as long as they those categories. So what
second
is the
place usually gets beer tickets. So we'll go for second place because you usually get a couple beer tickets at trivia if you do that.
Oh, that's true. That would be fun. So what is Eraser Header Design? Tell us about it.
So I am a web and brand consultant, and I specialize in WordPress, hence why we're having this conversation today. So my background is graphic design, but I was coding websites back when I was 12, 13, 14. I was a GeoCities kid. I had a really large Teddy Ruxpin fan website that was like number 2 or 3 in the world of Teddy Ruxpin back in the day. And I went into design, but I never forgot my coding. And a couple of years after doing design for a while, graphic design that is, I got back into web work, got back into WordPress. And I've been working for myself for about freelancing for over 12 years, working for myself as a Eraser Header Design for the better part of 7 or 8 years.
That's fantastic. I love it. Now, tell us, sorry, I'm looking at my questions. Show us your mug and tell us about it.
It's a merman.
Oh, he's so cute.
This is a birthday gift from a very dear friend of mine, Liz MacDraws, and this is my power mug. So if I have to get a lot done, or I need a little inspiration, or I don't feel like moving at all, I work from home. That can be really hard sometimes to even put on a bra and sit at your desk. I get this guy out, and he is my favorite mug on the planet, and it's made by a local artist, whose name I can't quite remember. But anyway, it's beautiful. It is my little merman with his little beard.
It's wonderful. I love his full beard. He's very cute.
Yes. It must like get full of barnacles. That must look very pretty when he's underwater.
I would think so too. What are you drinking?
It's empty now, but I drink decaffeinated tea. Any kind of tea will do, but I am on a reduced caffeine thing. I'm actually caffeine sensitive. So if you've ever seen me at WordCamp or seen a talk that is all just myself, I don't really do a lot of caffeine. This is all natural. I wake up like this. So I just do decaf tea for the taste. My family are a bunch of Newfoundlanders, and Newfoundlanders drink more like tea's kind of our common thing. So that's what I drink all the time. So
gotcha.
Decaf tea.
Well, as I said, I was at WordCamp Montreal this weekend, and the swag was this awesome thermal mug. So like it has
nice. That's a good swag item.
This is a wonderful, terribly amazing swag item, and it keeps things very warm. So I drank my coffee from it all weekend, but I'm exhausted today because it's about 7.5 hour drive up to Montreal from Rochester, and then I had to come home, so that was another 7.5 hours. And
I are just going for gold.
I hit Syracuse last night around 11 o'clock, and I was like, nope. I'm done. Checked into a hotel in Syracuse, got up this morning, and came straight to work. I haven't seen my cats yet since Friday, so.
I bet they're still cats. They probably miss you, but they probably still have 4 legs and tails each. Yeah.
They do, and they're, my parents are feeding them, so it's not like they've been fending for themselves or anything. So. But,
do they want to babysit my 2 birds, my 2 pet parrots in October? Because I'm looking.
Oh, I thought you meant the cats. I was like, the cats would love your birds.
Yeah. The chicken wings aren't worth it. They're like this big. So
that's right. But so I am drinking decaf tea as well this evening because I really need to sleep tonight. So if I were to drink coffee or something caffeinated at 6 o'clock in the evening, I would be even more tired tomorrow.
And there's a fair bit in tea. People kind of dismiss it as not a way of waking up in the morning, but I tell you, it can really pack a punch, especially you can do certain green teas or certain chai teas as well. You can really not like it. I think green tea may be decaffeinated by default. But anyways, there's definitely teas out there that can rock, maybe not like Red Bull level, but definitely can make you the jitters and like email and spell everything wrong.
Exactly. So moving on from our mugs, because I love your mug and I'm excited about my new mug too. Tell us, how did you get started with WordPress?
So I mentioned that I did code. So I remember I code like way back when there was also the need for Photoshop. I think that's where a lot of my need to be a designer came from. And then probably a couple of years into my print design career, I took a night course to upgrade myself to this thing called CSS. And that was wonderful. And I really got into it. That actually gave me confidence to eventually leave the job I have and go back into a more senior designer role and do more coding. And so I got in there and I was kind of, being inducted into the way of things. And they said, can you build WordPress sites? And I said, build them. I don't even know what they are. I'd been building my portfolio for that company I built in a weekend, and it was all static HTML and CSS. And so I was given some lynda.com training, and I actually learned, and I think this really is indicative of how I would then grow my business, was unlike a lot of designers who got to know WordPress by being like a user who edits the content, I was building themes and understanding loops before I even really knew what it was as a CMS. And so that's how I got my start. And then once, as being a senior designer, I was involved with training clients and getting all the content together. I was kind of blown away by this system. It was like, man, this sure beats the pants off of like hand coding your copyright on the bottom of every page. So that was my way of getting into PHP and understanding a little bit of that concept. And so from there, I think there might be a question later down the list, but I'll touch on it here. I eventually was kind of getting really excited about it, and I saw WordCamp Montreal, and I had never been to a tech conference before that was a particular platform, and I went, and well, the rest is history. So I was into WordPress, but I was like a lifer after that.
Yeah, that's awesome. If the bug bites you, it bites you hard.
I think, and we'll probably get to it later, but it's the people that made me stay with it, not so much the technology. Technology is good, but it was the people that like, mwah, just sold me.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've never seen a community come around .NET Nuke, for example.
Well, maybe I'll start the next like GeoCities conf or something, and we can all like, I remember when it took 7 hours to scan a picture, But
exactly.
Yeah.
And I was uploading it on dial-up, and I think it's still buffering.
Yes, exactly. Oh my god! Then the phone would ring, and you'd have to hang up your internet. Anyways, I know this is
Mom.
I know I'm not on the internet. No. It's like I can hear this. Shh. Get off.
Get off the phone. What's something that you think, and you do a lot of consulting, so this is something that probably is foremost in your mind. What are things that people skip over or don't focus enough attention on that would make their site more? I almost said more better. That would make their site better, or more dynamic.
More effective? Yeah.
That's a good word. Yes.
I saw that question. I had a lot of answers, but I think the one I'm going to pick is probably the largest one. And let me just adjust my fuddy-duddy designer glasses. But I think it's important for people to stop thinking about design as pretty and more about design thinking. So some really fascinating ways you can look at that from your website is, what's the purpose of every page, every post, every category? And that can really drive how you write it, the imagery you find, and how you lay out the content. So people get really hung up, I find, on like, this should make me money, or I'm going to get email captures, or I'm going to become a knowledgeable expert on this thing. But then the design is sort of pretty, but it doesn't actually convert. And so on design, like in design, we're taught that form follows function, which means the way things look are determined on what it's supposed to do. Like books look pretty simple, but over the years, they've been so designed that you don't even notice all the work that went into it. Like your thumbs don't touch the print at the bottom, and there's more space in the middle, so the spine, so you don't get all your type tucked in there. So when it comes to websites, people get so hung up on what it looks like, they don't really think about how it works, what that design process in. And if you're understanding your website is not a static online brochure and more as an interactive feature, then all of a sudden your whole world opens up and you avoid a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I've been working a lot on 404 pages lately. And the idea of how a 404 page isn't just a fun page to have. If you design it well, it could be a fun page, but it matches your brand, it matches your mission, and it adds to the overall story of your website. So
absolutely, and a chance.
I feel like go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, like, it's also a great chance of like saying, I made a mistake, but while you're here, why not check out A, B, and C? Like,
Yeah.
being human and redeeming yourself for having not made a 301 redirect on, in the right time.
Exactly. So it's kind of a fun little Easter egg for people to find too, which is
I love
kind
it.
of
I hit them all the time, and I'm just like, I hate when it goes back to the home page. I'm like, no, you denied me 5 minutes of fun. We don't have DVD players anymore, so there's no Easter eggs to click through on menu systems, right? That's what the 404.
exactly. I know exactly, and just the 404 page not found. Oh, boring. It's got to be
Like when
something
it can't
exciting.
find it, it's like it can't find its own 404. It's like, oh God,
Yeah,
it's like in
it's
the
like
abyss.
it's 404 Inception.
Yes, exactly.
What's something that you wish you had known in WordPress when you first started that you've learned since then that would have made life a lot easier?
This is a funny one, but I wish I had known in the future that migrating sites was going to get easier.
Mm,
So not so much mistake, but again, I think you think about like imposter syndrome and these sorts of things that can happen. So imposter syndrome is where you don't think you know enough, so therefore you're not actually capable of doing anything, when actually you're probably doing great. It's the people who think they know everything and know nothing that are actually causing problems. When I was working through, like I said, I'm a designer who had coding background. I'm building these WordPress websites, and it was time to move them back and forth. I was grateful for working for a hosting company that really gave me a lot of keys to things, but maybe didn't realize that I didn't have a background in admin work. So I remember before, one of my favorite plugins that we will get to in a minute, I mean, like actually moving things around and MySQL and all of that. I wished back then that I was better at replacing queries. So that's gotten easier now, obviously, with plugins. But back then, that would stop me from doing certain projects. I didn't know if I had the capacity to move all those things over. Now I do. So I would say past me, I would have said, spend a little more time with that. It's going to get easier, but you actually have the ability and you have friends around you that can help you out with that.
you had the ability all along.
I did. I just had to, like, when you write a query wrong and then you write a wrong one of that and you erase everything out, I was like, oh my God, I'm just a designer, which is not, I'm not just a designer. Like designers do
Right.
their own great thing, right? But it was just like,
Yeah.
erase this, replace this, replace this. Next thing you know, every single table element just says like BBBBBR. It's like, oh crap.
What
So,
did I do? What
oh,
did I do?
and the other thing is be careful when you're testing pages. I once made a site go live and I was testing an area and it was an Apple company and I had everything in the footer said potato, potato, potato. And so it wasn't until 6 months later that they were like, this is great. We're just wondering, why does the website say potato, potato, potato on the bottom? And I had taken out a test div I was using to test something. So check
Oh,
your files. Yeah.
that's awesome. I
Potato,
love
potato,
that.
potato.
That's great. It's we were just waiting to see how long you'd figure it out. That's why.
Exactly.
When you think back over the meetups and the WordCamps that you've been to, is there a moment or two that kind of really stand out to you as like a pivotal moment or an aha or an inspirational? And what was it?
Absolutely. And it's the one you mentioned, and that would be WordCamp Ottawa. So that was my second WordCamp. I had gone to Montreal maybe 2 years before, blown away by the community, completely changed, came back. I actually eventually would start Halifax's own WordPress meetup and conference. We're the only WordPress community in Atlantic Canada or east of Montreal, depending if you know the geography around here. And at WordCamp Ottawa, I was really nervous. I had always been a public speaker. I was going through Toastmasters, but I was really excited to give a talk to people who didn't know me. And I went up and I gave a talk about design. And at that was a great friend of mine, Anthony D. Paul, who is another WordCamp speaker. And he took me aside. Number one, he said, number one, Teddy Ruxpin is awesome, and don't ever think you're not cool for it. So that was great. The other thing was he really gave me the confidence that what I was talking about and how I was blending design with WordPress and also the way I was delivering it and the humor, it inspired me that I was on the right track, and I was finally finding the people who wanted to listen to goofy, nerdy Alison. Whereas before, I kind of felt that there was a certain patina I had to put on or something, and I had to be like super knowledgeable Alison or super serious Alison. And going to that and just, the whole crew there, they were amazing, but definitely Anthony D. Paul, just just a little fist bump out to him, man. Just definitely gave me the courage I needed to do what I now do internationally, which is talk about nerdy things all day long in front of audiences, no less.
I love it. And I saw that talk, and I remember your talk was about color and other things. And I remember sitting through that and watching it and being in awe of how you just owned that stage. So absolutely.
It was all about, it was just about, like, fart jokes and like big shapes, little shapes and all that good stuff. But it's, you got to engage people, because it's so easy for us to get siloed into, well, I code and I do this, or I design, I do that, or I do marketing. And if there's any way you can bring people together on commonality, which to me is humor, then you're always going to get your audience a bit further, especially technology, where people get frustrated very easily, right? If everything gets leveled out a bit more, if you're a little more forgiving to yourself and able to take a joke and give a joke and laugh a bit, just take the stress off your shoulders.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So talking a little bit about your actual business, how did you name it? Tell me a little bit about how you named it Eraserheader.
Well, it's
really, I really want to
know. It's funny because, number one, I'm actually rebranding. So I will no longer be Eraserheader Design, because what in the heck is an Eraserheader Design? I will soon be Alison K Consulting, which makes way more sense for what I'm doing. But the honest thing is, no, it is not a David Lynch reference, although Eraserhead is a fabulous movie, and I am forever getting website hits to people who are like, this is not what I wanted. So it's also conflating my analytics a little bit. But back in the day when I was a designer, it was really cool for graphic designers to have monikers and not to use their real name. And at the time, I was also illustrating. And so I was like, well, maybe the web thing will take off, or maybe the illustration thing will take off. So I'll just be Eraserheader. So eraser, like, I don't use erasers when I draw, and header, like thing on a website. And now it's Eraserheader, and I can't cash checks because they're always spelt wrong, and no one knows what Eraserheader is. But it's just a dorky name that kind of stuck around, but I've split off my illustration to a whole other thing. So that's where the name comes from. It was like so cool to do it. And now it's like we all switched over to our names. So that's it. I felt peer pressure, Michelle. It was all peer pressure.
I love it. That's the fun part, right? So like I had Marketed by Michelle as my business. Yeah. And I've been working for Impress.org, Give, and WP Business Reviews for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in January. And I know, crazy. And I was like, I'm not taking personal clients anymore. Not on occasion for fun, but I don't need a big website that keeps talking about how I do all social media and all this stuff, because I don't have time for that. And it's not my passion anymore.
Right.
But I need to have my stake of the web, so I can say to people, oh, check out my work here, check out my work there. So now I'm just worksbymichelle.com.
Yes. I mean, if you wanted to start doing auto body work in 2 years' time, you're set, right? Just change out the template.
Exactly. Right? Because every other iteration of my name was taken. That's how it ended up that way.
Yeah, that's why it's Alison K, because like there's a famous Alison Knott biologist and a famous Alison Knott painter, and so I'm just like, Alison K. So, that's the other crazy thing about the web is I've noticed even with client work is it's kind of, we're in a weird space where you almost have to find the domain before you name your company. So even if you have a company name that's stellar, the chances are someone already has it. And so that's just it's an unfortunate thing with the internet. You can get around it, but definitely sometimes what you want to call yourself is dependent on what URLs are available and not necessarily what speaks to your business.
Yeah.
It's a strange one.
It's a balancing act for sure, to try to figure out the right balance of those kinds of things. Yeah. So you're doing consulting, you're doing web design, you're definitely still doing art. I know I've seen some of your things online.
Oh, yes. Woo, we'll talk about that in a second.
Fun stuff. What is it that like really drives your passion? What are the things in your business that make you just like super excited to get up every day?
It's so corny, but I'm going to say anyways. It's my clients. They make me get up every day. And I think I have more pep in my step when I really, here's the big buzzword, niche down. I know we all hear that all the time. But for me, I don't build new websites. I only work with companies that have been online for at least 3 or 5 years, who have analytics in place, and then I look at their analytics, I look at other data sets, like maybe I talk to their sales team, and I figure out what they want to do, and then we fill out what holes we need to fill based on the data, based on the experience of their customers or their clientele. And that's what gets me up in the morning, is working with people who now know where they want to go with their business. Nothing wrong with people who are just starting out. Like, that's amazing. And I mentor female designers, and often they do that kind of client work, and I'm able to help vicariously through that by helping to mentor people who will work with those guys. But for me, it's working with people who have been in there, and you learn a lot from your clients because they're also like you. They've been doing their business for 7 or 8 years, made all the mistakes, changing it, pivoting, scaling, retiring, all those good things. And so that's what gets me up and going, is helping people to refine what they already have. And so it's like a really crappy clay mug, and now we're going to just massage it into this beautiful, beautiful mug that's going to hold every kind of liquid you could ever imagine.
Caffeinated or not.
Caffeinated or not, yes. with merman on it, or what have you.
That's awesome. I love it. We were talking a little bit before we actually started recording about how you use Twitter too. So can you just give us a minute or two about how you engage people through Twitter? Because I love your strategy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I use something called Social Jukebox, and it is a third apple, little fruit fly. It must be summer. I don't stink, folks. There's just flies live here with me. I do stink. But basically, with Social Jukebox, you can load up a lot of tweets. So I have spring, summer, and fall. Plus, I have end of the month. I always have little different jukeboxes. And what I did was I started collecting things that I wanted to talk about to people without it being like, I do this in my business. And so I started things like website tip of the day, or freelancer information, or design information. And the thing about Social Jukeboxes is that it randomizes them. So instead of it being like me, I love Twitter. It is my preferred platform, but I'm on there certain times of the day, and I'm responding certain times of the day. Whereas Social Jukebox is randomizing it based on this, it's pulling them at random. And I have things like unclench your jaw, or don't forget to save. And the difference is that I've been on Twitter for a long time, but when I turned it on, it wasn't like I got billions of new followers, but I had people who've been following me for years suddenly engaging with these tweets. And it's totally transparent. You know that these things are pre-recorded. In fact, by accident yesterday, a spring one went out, and 5 people called me on. They're like, Alison, fix it. But I'm always getting people commenting on it or saying, this was the right time I wanted to hear about Google Analytics. And so that allows me to be active without having to have Twitter on, but absolutely my phone tells me when someone's responded to it. And so I think the two prong of that is, number one, reaching people at a time you might not expect them to be online. And number two, delivering content that people actually want to read, and not just being about yourself. Because branding, I'm being helpful. That's what I do as a business, but I'm not saying go buy my analytics audit. You and I will redo your branding. It's just more about, what would I like to hear when I'm scrolling through the void of politics and opinion, and then you see someone say you're going to be okay, and you're going to keep working on that website, and it's going to get better. Like, thanks, Twitter. So that's what I aim for in it.
I love that. And I've engaged with several of them myself, and I've retweeted several of them because they spoke to me at that particular point in time. So.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I see other people doing it too. I'm always like, everyone, go get Social Jukebox. Let's all just be Social Jukeboxing it up, right? I also believe in not holding your cards close. I'll tell you, I'll show you guys how I do it if you want. But the key is the right kind of content. And some of it has flopped, and I just take them down and I put other ones in. But the jaw clench, the save, get up and stretch your arms one is good for me too. And also a new one I have put in is check your own contact forms, because you don't email yourself and they change. And I've had that happen to me. Some of the stuff is just for me. Everyone else, if you love it, that's great, Michelle. But also it's just for to remind me too of did you check your contact? Are your opt-ins still working? Check those things out.
And of course I don't see everything everybody tweets, because that's not how Twitter works, right? And it's was especially, I don't know what the right word is, but serendipitous. That's a good word. It was especially serendipitous when you posted something about, hey, if anybody has any inputs on working with nonprofits, and I was like, ooh, pick me. And I got to
right.
I
Yeah.
got to contribute to that blog post that you had, and I was so excited about it.
Yeah, that's the other great thing as well. I had you, and I also had Laura from the Loaded Ladle, which is a local food activist group here in Halifax. And yeah, if you're looking for people content-wise, question-wise, if you're doing it along your time, number one, there's time zone differences. You'll never know who you're hit or who will be the right voice. And the other thing with it is because the system is forever re-putting them out there, the same tweet might happen a couple of weeks later, and that's when the right person sees it.
Right.
Sometimes people just think they got to like fart in the wind once and expect everyone to smell it. That's not how it works with social media, right? It takes a while for it to like waft around and come through. And there you go. There's like 2 now. If anyone's got anyone wants to put a little counter down there in the green screen, that's 2 part groups.
I believe we might be to 3. I'm not sure, but
we'll
we'll have
3.
To.
Okay. Yes.
We'll have to go back to the replay later.
Math. That's the American imperial system or metric system, whatever it is you're on.
Yeah, we're imperial. You're metric. Yeah.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, I would get in an Uber this week and I'd be like, "Oh, it's a really warm day," and they're like, "Yeah, it's going to be 27," and I'm like, pull out my phone, go, "Oh yeah, okay, so it's like 85. Okay, good."
That's all I understand too. Yeah.
I can't do that math in my head for sure. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's what phones are for. The teachers lie. We do have little calculators in our pocket.
Exactly, and thank God we do, right? Thank God we do. But the other thing was that tweet that you put out. It allowed for you to collaborate with people, which I thought was wonderful. I love collaboration. I especially, and nothing against men, but I especially love collaborating with other women and helping each other out that way. You know, I'm a feminist. The boobs are too big to burn the bra, but I metaphorically burn my bra.
Same. I'm just all blue from here down. Like I'm just my desk is my chest. No.
or at least it's the holder.
Yes.
So I metaphorically burn my bra on occasion with my feminism, but it's great when you can put something out there in such a strong way and have people respond to it and want to collaborate with you.
Especially content that isn't necessarily about being women in tech. Not that there's nothing, like I am all for that, but I love the collaboration where it's just regular content that if there had been another dimension, we wouldn't be having these conversations. There would have been equality in who was writing these articles. So yes, it's also nice to collaborate on just regular content or important content that just has a diversity of voices because the nature of that topic deserves it, right? Not to fill some quota. And so it's nice to collaborate like that. And also you don't have to write all your own content and people give you ideas. And that one in particular, a lot of feedback too about, well, have you thought about adding ageism issues inside of like this particular topic that we're going on about? Well, you kind of come in with one, but someone's experience can help you add a whole other paragraph or section or call to action or follow up or ebook or podcast topic, you name it. You never know where collaboration will lead you. It only adds more to the already filled bucket of content.
Absolutely. And when it just happens that's how it happened, it wasn't like, I need women who want to talk about this topic. And it was just, it was natural the way it occurred. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I'm going to move us into my rapid fire questions. And yes, people all weekend long were accusing me of ripping this off from James Lipton. And I am 100%, this is inside the WordPress studio, not inside the actor studio. So it's only kind of stolen from him. I know, exactly, right? Okay, here we go. And you can answer slowly. I only ask them quickly. So what are 2 or 3 must-have plugins that you recommend to people who are starting out or building their own website?
WP all-in-one migration. My goodness, it is the fastest way for you to back up and download your website. It is also the #1 way that most of us move websites from staging environments to their final hosting. It is free. If you want to get over 500 megabytes, pay the man the $25 US. That's like $500 Canadian. We will still pay it gladly because it is so worth it. That's my #1. And #2 is redirection. And I'm sure we can put links to this below. I can't remember which one's redirection is called. The 301 redirection, and that's one that a lot of people overlook. If you're going to change the slugs of your pages or posts, you want to make sure that people don't get 404 errors and that you're following through. It's free and it's very user-friendly. It also has advanced features for developers who want to do a lot more regex and all kinds of things like that. But it's another very easy plugin that just avoids your content getting lost by space. So those are my 2.
Those are fantastic.
Both free. Yeah.
And I love the free ones. And nobody so far in the history of WP Coffee Talk has named those. So those are new ones, which I love too.
Everyone's like, Lost SEO, which is also great, which is, another one to have it there. But those are my 2 like instant installs.
See, I feel like with the green screen behind you, we could have like confetti falling down behind you for being like the first customer who said that.
Yay! And it's getting darker and darker. So like this green screen is just like is turning into this little halo. So it's about, I don't know, what is it, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock here. So 7 o'clock.
Yeah. Yep, and it's getting later in the year, so of course it's getting darker for sure.
Next one. I'm ready.
So, at any point in your WordPress journey, have you had an official or unofficial mentor type relationship with anybody, and who was it?
Official and unofficial Megan Haynes of Ottawa. Yes, so she was one that basically became my bestie when I was at WordCamp Montreal. She encouraged me to go back to WordCamp Ottawa. She was officially my mentor when I launched WordCamp Halifax 2 years ago. And I still ping her from time to time. Her and I have collaborated in RFPs together. And in particular is not even so much her tech knowledge, it's the way she's really good at understanding the culture of people and interpersonal relationships, especially with WordCamps, like finicky things like strange sponsorship questions or how we work it out if two people engage in this manner. And she's really good about stepping back and seeing the larger picture, which to me is really great leadership quality, is not so much telling people what to do, but stepping back and having a wider variety of that. So Megan Haynes, hands down, my absolute favorite, my go-to WP gal.
I spent the weekend with Megan this weekend at Montreal, and that's right. And I can say absolutely 100% agree with you. I would add to that, she's also really good at building community without looking like she's building community.
Yes. She also has so many tricks up her sleeve about that. And just like pivoting you, like, well, what if you did this? Like, what if you had a pizza party with marshmallows? Or that's, I don't know, that's the exact one that she's had, but definitely it's something that is not a skill a lot of people have, or we take for granted and try to do it yourself. And you're like, wow, this is really tough stuff. Yeah, she handles it like a pro. She
really does. Who, besides Megan, who is somebody that you admire in the WordPress community, and why?
I'm going to keep it up with that Canadian content, and I'm going to go with Sean Hooper, who is also out of Ottawa. And Sean would be my other person that I like to ask questions about when it comes down to more interpersonal space. He has a fantastic blog post about how to, and this, like he wrote it a million years ago, it seems, but it's about how to make sure that your password protected content doesn't get uploaded through the regular media library, because newsflash, anyone can see that. And so the fact that he just takes the time to, like, you know, Sean's knowledge is immense when it comes to security, but he still takes the time to write these little articles. With WordCamp Halifax, he's been really helpful. When we first started up to look through our developer speaker applications and to take time for that and to go through it. So another one, like those two, you know, Canadian as can be, just really wants to help, wants the best for everybody. And also the man has, like, I think, like, between him and I, our puns just like expand across the universe. He's the punniest person I know, and I love him for that.
He really is, and you're making me want to be Canadian now, so I just want you to know that. What's something that you would like to learn in WordPress but you haven't tackled yet?
I think that I would like to learn how to mark up schema all by myself. I know that Yoast SEO does some of it. I'm working on a current client project where we had a schema plugin installed. It was conflicting with Yoast, and I was doing a lot of debugging. And I mean, I know to a lot of people out there, that's not a lot to learn, but give me a break, folks. I know so much about Google Analytics and Google Search Console and Google Data Studio and design and all that stuff. But I am interested in just understanding schema a bit more, and then returning to maybe I use Generate Press is my favorite theme to use. It's also a Canadian product. Woo! Made out of Vancouver by Tom. And I would like to further my knowledge. I know that theme inside and out, but I would really love to get into some schema stuff and see if I can't play around, especially with like recipes and like really in like events, very specific kinds of content. I'd love to learn how to hook it in a little bit more.
Oh, that's very cool. I love that. I feel like this is a giant shout out to the Maple Leaf today. So that's awesome.
I don't mean to be, but
it's awesome.
I think I kind of do. Yeah, I do a monthly newsletter called Notable Numbers, where I try to find really random information all over the world that will inspire website owners. But I try to keep the content Canadian, just because our data is out there. Like Google be capturing that like big time. But we often hear mostly American and European stats. So maybe, yeah, I think you're right. I think I'd say I'm not, but I think, and I think people are appreciating more for Canadians that, you know, Whereas like there's like 1/8 of us, but like we're mighty and small. Like please include us in all of your data sets.
Well, at least half of the WordCamps I attend every year are in Canada, so it's having an effect on me. So there you go.
Yay!
Yay. What is the biggest mistake you've ever made in WordPress, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, the biggest mistake I ever made in WordPress was I was in a client pitch meeting and I happened to say, oh, it's just a WordPress site. And afterwards, my creative director took me aside. This is when I was very new and very green, and I was so fortunate to be let in the room with clients at the time. Maybe I should have been, marched around the stall a couple more times before I went out. But and my art director said, it's absolutely okay to mention that this is WordPress. Of course, it's a fantabulous platform, but never say it's not what it is. Don't say the word just. And I think it also kind of comes down to women often. We tend to say, oh, I'm just a designer. Oh, I'm just an artist. And the word just, we just say it to make sure that we're downplaying ourselves and being approachable. But it can also come across like, it's just. And that can then turn into, well, the WordPress must be cheaper. If it's just WordPress, then it must be cheaper and it must be less work and less involved and less special and less custom. So that was a mistake I learned, was your words matter, and depending on how you say it, be aware that there may be consequences, and then learn the words that you think would actually better position what you're trying to say, and go for that and practice. So I practice that. I never say it's just like, it's friggin' WordPress. Come on.
Right.
It's WordPress.
It powers 34% of the internet.
Yes. Yes.
It's not just anything.
My partner makes fun of me. He says I'm the Hank Hill of WordPress. So I'm like, WordPress and WordPress accessories. So that's basically, you can't, I'm pretty much the Hank Hill of WordPress over here.
I agree with you about the word just. I actually wrote a post on Facebook about it last year. One of my colleagues said the word just about herself and what she does. And I said, and I didn't call her out in the post, of course, but I took it to heart what she said. And so I posted on Facebook, women especially, men do it too sometimes, but women especially use the word just, like you said, to downplay themselves, but it comes across as less than. And you're not less than. Own what you do. You're not just a designer, not just a WordPress, anything. Be strong. And I also think, and this is in a book I wrote last year, that any client or customer who approaches you with, I just need a, or it's only a, they're going to be in big trouble, and they are not the right client for you. That's right.
But we also know that it's anything but just, right? There's always more to it. I know you don't like editing, but I have got to turn on a light before I can't see you.
Go for it.
So I need 2 seconds. I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Also, shout out to Ugly Red Chairs. No one will ever steal this puppy. Yeah. It's a custom, if you guys ever get the chance, invest in yourself. That is a custom ergonomic chair. I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying because it saves my life and my health. Because if you work for yourself and if you get sick or injure your back, no one else can work for you. So as ugly as it might be, this puppy is so comfortable.
That's an awesome thing. Moving along, what's your proudest WordPress? No, it's good. I love it. What's your proudest WordPress moment?
My proudest WordPress moment is starting the WordPress community here in Halifax. And I couldn't have done it without the support of Megan and also some other people in Montreal whose names I'm totally blanking on. I feel bad. Richard and anyways. And I think because I was so blown away by how there was community around a internet thing, and it took it away from being this tech issue and made it just a human kind of project. And starting it here in Halifax and watching people who when they started didn't even know the difference between a page and a post, and are now making their own multi-sites, or and our meetup is going really strong. I'm super proud of that, and growing the community by allowing other people to lead it. I have different people leading WordCamp 2019. That's happening this September 7th. So it's a brand new team. Kim and Crystal have had experience, and Chirag is our main leader this year. And I'm really happy to have those folk on board. So to me, I'm proud because I couldn't afford to be going to Ottawa and Montreal every time I wanted it. And people is just, I think the other part is I run other meetups, and for this particular meetup, 18 to 88-year-olds come. And I think when it comes to ageism, you see that fall away very quickly. You see people who are do-it-yourselfers at all stages of life. And that makes me really proud as an artist who likes to see people make and break and redo. So I'm just really proud of the community that I started here. But like, more importantly, I'm proud of like not what I did, but like what they're achieving, because they have a space to do it, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. And I couldn't agree more. That's fantastic. Very, very, very good. If you weren't working in web, and let's take the art away too. So let's say if you were going to attempt a career other than something that you have already done, what career might you like to attempt?
I think I would have liked to have tried gardening, especially like small farm or vineyard. Not so much to drink all the wine, but I've lost my connection to plants. But the idea of like measuring the soil and plotting out the land and trying to find all these things and the varietals, and I've worked with some clients who work in the farming industry, and I don't know if anyone knows this, but here in Nova Scotia, we're actually a province that exports almost all of our food, and we don't really keep a lot of it locally here. So in the last couple of years, working through some particular clients I work with, I've become more aware of food security issues in the realm of like feeding people here who don't, and we have like obesity issues in Nova Scotia and that. So I think if I wasn't doing anything web or tech related, I'd like to be part of the local farming, either owning a farm or being very specific, like raising loofah sponge or something, which you can raise, by the way, and eat and make like fabric out of. It's insane.
It is insane.
Loofahs.
Who would have thought it?
Who would have thought? I met this lady and she goes, "I'm a farmer." I'm like, "What do you farm?" She's like, "Loofah." I just was imagine like a little rake, like a little hat under the sea. But yeah, you can absolutely farm loofah.
Who knew? But you can. They come from somewhere.
Yes, they do come from somewhere. Yeah.
What is something on your bucket list?
Something that is on my bucket list is to be a speaker at FITC in Toronto or Amsterdam, and it's known as Future Innovation Technology Creativity. It's the other conferences I'm more familiar with that kind of blend tech with creativity, and they have amazing things. But since you sent me that list, I am happy to confirm that I will be emceeing at their series called Web Unleashed in September, and that's the front and back end conference that they have, and I will be emceeing their aside, like it's really like as in the section of aside, and that's where they're having specialized talks that aren't so much tech related, but maybe like interpersonal or like really conceptual. So my bucket list is to speak there, but I got my toe in the door because I will be emceeing a room there in September. So
well, congratulations.
If you ever get a chance to go, guys, in Toronto or Amsterdam, their FITC is a fabulous, fabulous conference to go to.
Congratulations. That's very exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I love it. Mine is to do a TED Talk. I want to do TED or TEDx. I have the talk in my head already. I just need them to finally say, yes, Michelle, we want you to do it. So someday.
Oh, fantastic. And TEDx is a little more likely to come, isn't it? Because TEDx is usually like more universities and that accessible, as it were, and more chances to, like, more opportunity because it's more, it comes up more. Yeah.
Yes,
cool.
exactly. So
well,
I keep applying.
I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
Go.
That's right. Exciting stuff's coming. I'm sure of it. Show us or tell us something on I'm sorry. I'm tired. I told you that, right? Okay.
I know, it's okay.
Show us or tell us about one of your hidden talents that we in the WordPress community might not know.
Okay, a hidden talent. So I guess a hidden talent people might not know that I have is that I don't only run WordPress events, and I know this goes back to the whole artist thing, but before I was running WordPress meetups, I run something called the East Coast Creative Collective. I just happen to have a card ready. Oh, it's backwards, but it's been around for 7 years, which is like a billion years in Halifax, and we are a monthly meetup for visual artists. So friends would get together as designers and hang out and chat, but then we'd have writer friends who were like, well, can I come and hang out with you guys and chat too? And I'm an animator, can I come and hang out? So I created this thing called East Coast Creative Collective. It meets once a month. And we will be having our first conference next April. So basically bringing the creative community in Halifax. We're small and mighty, and we have quite a few art schools here in town. But a lot of people feel like once they're done, they have to go to Toronto or Montreal, the bigger cities. And I love this city immensely, and I wanted to encourage and mentor and create fellowship with anybody who is a visual artist in the city. And so I'm an artist myself, but my real passion is bringing people together. And so the East Coast Creative Collective allows me to do that. So, but not orchestrating WordPress events, I'm also once a month also doing this other artist event. We have speakers, and we have taxidermy drawing nights, and we have art Jeopardy battles and art battles and all that kind of good stuff. So a hidden talent is, I like to bring people together. I'm always making people come together like weird blobs of interesting folk.
I just love that, and I can totally see you doing that. So it may be a hidden talent, but it's also hidden in plain view, because it's obvious that you should be able to do those kinds of things. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. You have magnetic energy. Your energy is contagious, and I think
all this hair. It's just static cling is all it is, Michelle.
You know, they say that if you take a metal hanger and just rub it over it, it goes away. So you're good.
All I heard was like metal headbanger. That's what I heard.
Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah. That works too. How can we find you online and social media?
Right now, until the inevitable switch, and Lord knows how well that will go over, you can find me as Eraser Header on Facebook, on Twitter, and then on LinkedIn as Alison Knott, 1 L, 2 T's. And then if you want to see the other side of me, I also am an illustrator known as Drawstrange. You can see that on Instagram. But full warning, it is not safe for work content. And that is my other outlet for drawing really weird, wonky, naked people. So if you're into that, cool. Just don't expect any WordPress knowledge to come out of Drawstrange. There's a reason it's called Drawstrange. It be drawn and it be weird.
And I follow it because I get a kick out of it every time. And sometimes I'm like, oh, she went there. She really went there. Look at that.
I am working on a new zine for this Sunday. We have our Comic Arts Festival here in Halifax, and I'm debuting my number 5th one called Stags and Studs. So I have wolves and women, fish and femmes, goats and gals, birds and babes. This is the new one. This is my first issue of all animals and dudes, naked dudes.
I love
You're into that? Then yeah. So, but it's good. I think it's really important, no matter what you're doing, to have varieties of yourself so that you are influenced and taking breaks and being inspired by other things. So if I love design. I love working on websites because it's very particular and we have systems to follow and code to go. But when it comes to my illustration, I don't even apply a lot of social media tactics. I just want to explore and post dangly body parts for whoever wants to see them. Yes. Yeah.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you ask once upon a time, it might have been over a year ago even, if anybody wanted to kind of like, hey, do you want me to draw you kind of thing?
Yeah, I did that, and I had to stop because I don't think people realized that they didn't see my style. I think they were looking for like commissions, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to draw you so melty. Like it's like, I'll love your nose and only your nose. It'll be the only feature you understand.
So you might notice I didn't volunteer myself, and that's because I have followed you for quite a long time.
Thank you. Yeah. I would like to do that, but I think it's, so far I'm gifted a lot of like erotic coffee table books, and that's where a lot of my content comes out of, because those people have already agreed and, to have themselves drawn in a certain manner, because like I said, my day job is so specific that at night I just want to let loose, pun intended, I guess you could say.
I love it. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we sign off for the evening?
This hostess is the one with the mostest. I have got to thank you so much for having me on, and for having others, and for creating a voice, and for being such a positive force in the WordPress community. And I know we say it, but I'm saying it to you again. Much love to you, and keep it up, because we know and we notice, and I love to share you with other people and that good stuff. So keep it up, because we need all positivity that we can. And a lot of positivity comes by doing your own thing, thus having WP Coffee and all these great items. So keep it up, lady. Full steam ahead. You have my blessing, and keep it up, because it only compounds into more generosity and more positivity.
Thank you. I am so excited to tell people stories and to be the conduit that happens. So it makes me insanely happy. The one downside and this is honest. It sounds like a joke, but this is the honest to goodness truth. The one downside is that my face hurts at the end of every like recording session, and sometimes I do 4 hours of recording, like 4 episodes in a row, and from the smiling and the laughing, like I go home and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just have to like frown for a while because my face.
I thought that was your natural state, though. I thought you just like woke up giggly. Like I thought that was okay.
Apparently,
it's the energy in the air that makes it happen. Okay.
I need you guys to bring it out of me, I guess. So there you go. So that's what it's
I will
about.
send you a voicemail of me making a fart joke every day. If that's what you need to get them to get your like face kegels in.
and I think we have a 5 count now, so we're at a round number, which is nice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
What can I say? Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for being such a valuable part of the WordPress community, and especially for the work that you do in Halifax. I think it's wonderful. And one day I will come to your WordCamp when I decide I can fly up there and can pony
I
up
should
the
come
money.
down to Rochester. Come on, I haven't been in New York in a couple of years.
We can do it. We can help each other out over the next few years. We'll find our way to be in the same place at the same time, because I think I need an Alison hug. So there you go.
I said, eat, and then a little poot.
There you go.
Yeah.
I guess you hugged me too hard. There you go. All right. Well, you have a good evening. Thank you. Goodbye, everybody in WP Coffee Tech land. Until next time. Bye.
See you later, you crazy folks. Bye.